Israel is deeply, deeply divided. I mean, it's virtually on the edge of civil war. For many Israelis, particularly the sort of more secular European liberal Israelis, the people you'd meet more in Tel Aviv and Herzliya, those people really, came to Israel not to take part in what Smotrich called, a war of conquest and of restoring, the Israel. They came there for safety. They were leaving Europe because they didn't feel safe. And they came to Israel as a sort of place of safety and somewhere where they felt that they would be protected. Now that's gone. It's gone completely. It went actually on the 7th of October, or 2 years ago.
You can almost feel the weight in Alastair's words here. For many Israelis, October 7th was not just an attack, it was the day their sense of security shattered. When a society feels it's no longer safe, politics gets raw and emotional, often turning inward. That's why we're seeing such polarization in Israel today. This isn't just about policy, it's about identity and survival. And when a nation is this divided, its decisions can become far more unpredictable, something the entire region has to factor in.
How are they going to protect themselves when they are at war with most of the Middle East? I mean, they've attacked, I think, 6 countries or 6 places at least in these last few weeks. It was not just Gaza and the West Bank, but it was also Syria, it was Lebanon, it was Yemen, and it was Tunis. I mean, so all of these, I mean, it is a sort of maelstrom approach, if you like, the law of the jungle. And what I think we're seeing, which is so important, is that Israel is effectively abandoning all the norms of, if you like, politics, not just the norms, but the laws, the institutions that regulate international politics, and also, of course, dismissing the UN Charter. It is a really deliberate, if you like, tearing up of the international, if you like, structure, a deliberate tearing it up to give them room to do whatever they choose, wherever they want, whenever they want, by military force.
This is an important observation. We're watching the unraveling of decades of international norms. The UN Charter, international law, these were supposed to restrain states from acting unilaterally. But when a country feels cornered, it often reverts to raw power politics. History shows us this, from Sparta to 20th century great powers, and it rarely ends well for stability.
And so it has been quite deliberate. I mean, you can see it, a breach of norms in every area. I mean, just, what was the attack on Iran about? Well, there were many reasons, but one of them was it showed that they could break that norm too, as well as other norms. The attack on Doha is another case where they said, no, none of these old understandings exist anymore. They're broken. We don't accept them. We don't abide by them. It's the war of the jungle we are engaged in now. And we will win because we are clever and we have an effective military force that can impose on other states. So that's where they have gone to, in the assumption that they can ultimately win. There is the one piece missing to this winning, and we all know what that is. It's Iran. That is the piece that they feel is missing. Iran has to be, if you like, normalized one way or the other, or balkanized and turned into a Syria of competing, disparate groups killing each other.
This strategy isn't new. Divide and rule has been a tactic since the colonial era, but trying to destabilize Iran could have massive blowback. Iran is more unified and militarily capable than Iraq or Syria were before their wars. Any attempt to fragment it risks a much larger regional war.
And fighting amongst themselves. I mean, that was always the norm a long time ago. Even Ben Gurion talked about the desire to have, to have the region fighting amongst itself, because then it's weak. And compared with Israel, Israel would be stronger. So that was always the prospect. And that is the missing part. So I think we will see a doubling down of that. Now, what is quite apparent is, and there was an article about this just recently, that of course Netanyahu and Derma know the bad press that Israel is getting. They know what's said in the international press. They know that they've lost international support quite widely. But what was said in this article, which I think is written by someone who's well informed, was they don't care. Netanyahu and Derma, they are not bothered. Why are they not bothered? They should be. Why are they not bothered? For one reason, and that one reason is known as Mr. Trump. And they make this very clear. So long we don't give a damn what the world is saying about us, they can say what they want. We have Trump. And that's their answer to this question.
This is striking. It shows how much faith Netanyahu is putting in Trump personally, not just the U.S. government. That's a risky bet because U.S. politics can shift overnight. If Trump's influence wanes, Israel might suddenly find itself isolated at the worst possible moment.
But this means we're going to see it doubling down, and they will continue to double down, and they will push the boundaries as hard as they can and as far as they can in this period. So it opens up other big questions that we have sort of avoided. It opens up the questions of why is it that the United States has not sought either to criticize or restrain Israel's military actions that are clearly illegal and against all humanitarian laws. Why is that happened? And why is it that we then see the United States moving actually not just to avoid criticism of Israel, but actually to adopt many of its ways of war? It's the United States that has used guile to lure, if you like. First of all, it was Hezbollah, and then it was Iran, and then it was Hamas in Doha, into a situation where they were all together for decapitation, for collective decapitation of the leadership. It is the United States that has supported, if you like, decapitation itself in Yemen. That was America supporting, saying that they wanted, I think it was Hegseth who said very clearly, our aim in Yemen is to decapitate the leadership. I mean, these are changes in the global foreign policy sphere, which are very significant.
What Alastair is describing here is almost a philosophical shift from rules-based order to a might makes right approach. The scary part is that once one major power abandons norms, others quickly follow. It's a slippery slope that could make international conflicts far more common.
And of course, I mean, now we're looking at what's happening offshore at Venezuela. These boats that are being attacked, and those that are on board are being vaporized. And there's no real detail. So what is going on? I don't know, but it looks as if Mr. Trump is very frustrated by how he finds himself and that he's not having the foreign policy successes or indeed the financial war successes he hoped. And he seems to be turning and sort of following and emulating Mr. Netanyahu, whom he much admires, emulating him in his, if you like, military strategies. And the background to this, the reasons why Trump seems unable to move away from this complete support, we don't know. That is another unknown reason in this, and a very important point in this occasion. It's also, I mean, this puts him in direct tension with his own base because he is going on supporting. Look what's happening these days while we're talking in Gaza. I mean, the sheer destruction, the killing, everything like this. It's putting him directly at odds with his own base. And we know that Trump has said to Netanyahu, we are losing the young. We're losing the young. Said, and he acknowledges the vibe. He says, we can see it. You're losing Congress too. And Dermer and Netanyahu just smile and say, yes, that's right.
This moment says a lot. It suggests Netanyahu believes U.S. political dynamics, even losing support in Congress, won't stop his agenda. It's a reminder that leaders often double down when they feel time is running out, which can make the next moves even more aggressive.
Secure in the knowledge that they have Trump by some reason or another. So it's changing Western, or at least certainly American, and to a certain extent European, less so, but European policies. I think shaping it in a different world outside of, if you like, the Charter of the United Nations, international law, and the old conventions, the Vienna Convention and the other treaties that have regulated life. But the thing that Netanyahu said, which has shocked the public, because he said, actually, we are little Sparta now. Israel has becoming little Sparta, and we have to get used to, and you have to get used to the fact that we are under siege. We will not be able to, live off other states, to trade with other states as we used to. And indeed, the Europeans even have begun moving in that direction, slowly, as usual. But they are tentatively moving in that direction. So he says, we are going to become an autarky and that we are going to become self-sufficient in military equipment. I mean, what does that mean? How much money will they have to spend to become? I don't think that it's even possible to become self-sufficient in air defenses. I know they regard themselves as very technically innovative, but they don't have. I mean, even the air defenses they have now, I mean, are not really very great. So, what's going to happen? And then, of course, we are going to move to the next thing, which is war with Iran. And this is going to be a really major affair. And that is going to, I think, change the course of the Middle East.
Alastair's closing point is sobering. A war with Iran wouldn't just be another conflict, it would reshape the Middle East for decades. It could disrupt energy markets, redraw alliances, and even accelerate the decline of the old global order. For viewers, this is the moment to step back and realize what happens next won't just affect the region, it will touch the entire world economy and security environment.